Most people don't realize how much of their personal information is being bought and sold every day. Data brokers are making millions pulling details about you from public records and the internet, then packaging and selling it, usually without your consent. That's how your information lands in the hands of scammers, spammers, even stalkers. It's why you get endless robocalls and why ads seem to follow you everywhere. That's where Aura comes in. Aura actively removes your data from broker sites and keeps it off. They also instantly alert you if your information shows up in a breach or on the dark web. But Aura goes beyond data protection. With one app, you get a VPN, antivirus, password manager, spam call protection, dark web monitoring, and even up to $5 million in identity theft insurance, all backed by 24/7 US-based fraud support. Other companies might just sell credit monitoring or just a VPN. Aura gives you all of it, together at the same price competitors charge for just one service. Start your free trial today at aura.com/hidden. Protect yourself now at aura.com/hidden.
911, what's the nature of your emergency?
Welcome back to the Tactical Living Podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Walton, joined by Sergeant Walton. Glenn, how are you?
I'm excellent.
I know a police officer who definitely struggles with what we're going to talk about today, and that is that they are always on edge at home. And I thought we can kind of break down a little bit about why first responders can't turn off hypervigilance. And for this individual in particular, he's on this detail where he could basically pick up shifts and do... It's very strange how this particular law enforcement position works, but all of that to say that he is doing everything he can to sleep and then not be at home and to be on and working all of the time. And for me, a lot of that is because he, in my opinion, can't find the way to be able to find that calm within, to shut the hypervigilance off, to be able to create the space to enjoy the things that most people would be able to enjoy at home.
And I think with that, it's always starts with having that checklist. One thing that I specifically do every time I'm leaving work, I get into the mental state, and it took practice. It took time to get to that point of going through these this routine of on my way home, I'm able to shed my vest, shed my uniform, and turn into who I am outside of working as a police officer. And I think that's one thing that we're always on edge. We're always going all the time with worrying about what could happen next instead of creating this safe space of being, okay, now I'm at home.
I've always felt like we take the term primal instinct for granted. It's something that I actually think about all of the time. And it's so cool what has been instilled and literally programmed into us for such a long time and then passed down and still ingrained within us. And our nervous system was actually trained to be able to detect threat, anticipate anger, and stay ready to be able to respond whenever you need to. But the problem is that it doesn't just automatically shut off when the uniform comes off. And what keeps you alive on the streets can quickly strain your marriage, your parenting, and even your sense of peace at home. And we see that a lot in the first responder realm.
One thing, I have a visualization technique that I try to use. It's almost like having a light switch. And I'm thinking of an old school light switch that sticks out, not just the button one, but to where when I don't need the vigilance on, I can hit that light switch off and it's just off. I'm always standing by that mentally, but if I need to turn it on based off of the environment, based off of what's coming up, I can turn it on real fast, but then turn it off real quick too if I don't need it.
That might sound silly to people. And as you were saying that, I literally hear the whoosh and the click of the switch. And there are so many different little tricks and hacks. And what we're doing is you're literally creating this neurological pathway for you to be able to identify that the hypervigilance is the switch, and with intention, if it flips this way, it's on, and this way, it's off, not only metaphorically or maybe what you're visualizing, but also in the way that your behavior is and how you're exhibiting that externally too. It's not just a thought.
Yeah, and it's because I went to a shooting a few days ago, and it was one of those instances where I'm out there, it's chaotic. I have all these like 10 people out screaming and yelling at us, and I see some of these younger officers showing up, and they're all worked up and they're all amped up, and I'm chill, and I'm just talking about, hey, you guys need to do this, do that, and I'm talking to people calmly and professionally, to the point of where I'm starting to calm down this instance where I still have my vigilance on. I know what's going on around me, but I'm not so worked up to where my excitement, my adrenaline is pushing it towards everybody else.
I want you to think of the word perception, because there's a psychological concept called neuroception, and we're going to talk about neuroception of threat. And basically your nervous system is constantly scanning for danger, even when absolutely none exists. When you've spent years in a high-risk environment, your brain is going to learn to interpret neutrality as uncertainty and calm as vulnerability.
And I think a perfect explanation of this is we don't use our imagination as much as we should. And one thing, like growing up in the years that we did, is we used our imagination to go outside and play as a kid. And we used our imaginations to be able to create these worlds, these environments of whatever we're doing. And it's almost kind of the same mindset of being able to use your imagination of playing that game, if this then that, but not being always focusing on the negative aspect of it. It's almost having this barrier, this ring that you're in the sand circled around you, and as soon as something crosses that, setting up that line in the sand for yourself, you're able to turn that vigilance on, turn that switch on to be able to address whatever you need to.
You don't know what my dad's front yard used to look like when I was growing up, but it was flat and it was dirt, and it was like the sandy, powdery dirt. And I remember one time taking the entire front yard and creating my own little city out of it with a stick. And I created a little road and little like shops, and I just drew everything in the entire front yard. And it was all by myself. And I remember my dad looking out the window and like, "Princess, what are you making?" And, you know, that type of creativity and wonder, I think you're absolutely right. We have lost sight of that. And of course, technology has a big part in that. And I think there are a lot of signs that you're living in hypervigilance at home. One of them is that you're easily startled or you're on guard all of the time. Things like doors, voices, even sudden movement. It could spike your stress response, and you know when that happens.
Yeah, you're going to have that physiological response to it where you're going to jerk, you're going to sit up and look around what it is to see. And that's where I think especially we fine-tuned our senses so much, especially being in the first responder realm, and something that is I've always harped on with all my guys is your sense of smell is one of those things that won't steer you wrong a majority of times. Your sense of hearing, your imagination is not going to play tricks on you if you know how to kind of problem solve by using your senses to be able to address whatever it is you need to. If you're living in that hyper vigilant world, it's your brain starts playing tricks on you too.
Once in a great while, I'll notice you doing something like you're tapping your foot, or you're kind of like moving your arm, something that tells me that for whatever reason you're in high alert right now. And I'll simply take my hand, and I usually place it right on your leg or right on your shoulder in a very wholesome way. Wholesome meaning that with intention, I take my whole hand and I place it with a good amount of weight on it to where I can create that warmth between myself and you. And instantly I can feel that tension release. And I don't say anything to you, but it dawns on you like, oh yes, I am on. I need to kind of calm myself down. And I think for a lot of people, they struggle to sit still or to even be fully present. And your body stays in readiness mode even during rest time. Yeah,
and it's especially when you're in that sense of hypervigilance all the time, and you're not going to always necessarily recognize it for yourself, to where having that soft touch, having that sense of calm coming from your spouse, and being able to just, well, oh yeah, you need to turn it off right now. Just chill. We're good. We're safe. It helps out tremendously, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. You're not even going to recognize it, but you're going to know you're in this environment that you don't need to be worked up over it.
There are so many ways that we can help our nervous system to be able to learn that safety again. And I think that one of the most important things is to create predictable decompression routines. So your brain needs to have signals that the mission is over. For you, Clint, it might be something like flipping that switch.
Yeah, turning off that switch for me is one of those things, like on my way home. Sometimes, I'm driving home and this is in my mind, it's kind of one of those things. I'm on my way home. I've turned that switch off. I'm just, on autopilot. And all of a sudden someone from work calls me and I turn that switch on real quick. I talk to them. I go through my analytical brain of what I need to answer the question for or help them, whatever it may be. And then as soon as I hang up the phone, that switch goes back off and I keep going through that mental process of being able to get in that sense of space, that sense of calm in my home space.
I think too, using physical regulation before emotional processing. So things like movement, breath, temperature, even stillness, just something to be able to calm your body first. Was it you and I that were having a conversation about taking a shower in the dark? I was having a conversation with somebody about that's one of their go-tos is taking a shower in the dark.
Yeah, I love taking showers in the dark, especially when it's a nice cold wintry day and you have the shower nice and hot, and it's because you're almost resetting your system of like, this is calm, it's peaceful, and you're able to get into this mindset of there's nothing else going on around you to where you have to worry about anything.
Yeah, our shower is the size of most people's bedrooms. I think it's a little embarrassing to say. However, that's how I wanted it. And I think too, even doing something that's out of the norm, like even sitting down in the shower, if you're used to standing up, even that could be something that kind of re-triggers regulation.
It's funny. When I was a kid, I used to, I would have the shower on, like take my morning shower, and I would have it hot, and I'm still tired. I'm still out of it. And sometimes I would accidentally fall asleep in the shower, but I would sit down and just chill and just have the hot water pushing on to me, and it just feels so warm. It's so embracing to where you could just sit there and not have a worry in the world.
Yeah, all of this matters because you don't have to live in survival mode forever. I think that hypervigilance may have kept you safe, but it doesn't have to run your entire home. I hope you've gotten some value out of today's episode. If you have, do us a favor, drop a review, subscribe down below, and as always, know that I'm sending you a long, tight hug from my home to yours.